I want to talk about credit card hacking. Now, if you don't know what credit card hacking is, that's where you would say have one credit card for dining out, one credit card for groceries, one credit card for travel expenses, one credit card for hotels, one credit card for flights, one credit card for this, one credit card for that, right? You would have all these cards, and what you would do is you would maximize, right? This card is perfect and gives me the most points for this, and this one gives me the most points for this, right? And this is how I accumulated 25,000 points to be able to pay for this, and this got me a free vacation with points, right? And that's great and all, but to be honest, I don't have the time or want to go through the gymnastics of keeping up with which card to use for what to maximize my rewards, and also keeping up with paying off 6 or 7 cards. That sounds like a part-time job in itself, right? Now, I do think there are some specialty like travel cards or something out there for people that travel often that are probably more beneficial for them than they are for me because I don't really travel. Now, I still think credit cards have their uses. I have 2 credit cards of my own, and I think as long as you can be responsible with them, that's okay. But the problem is, statistically speaking, people are just not responsible with them. As of late 2025, the average US credit card debt was around $6,580, with the total debt surpassing $1.2 trillion dollars. This is a huge number and a big problem, and why I don't think credit cards are meant for everyone, right? I think that you really just have to look and see if it's right for you, right? I think there are credit card people and there are people that should not have credit cards. And unfortunately, majority of people probably shouldn't. But you know yourself, right? I mean, I think if you're somebody that follows a budget, or you're not on the verge of, say, living paycheck to paycheck, right? You have a little extra cushion. You could afford to, if you win a little bit over, you could afford to pay that without having to roll over a balance to the next month and pay interest. Then I think maybe it's a wise thing to do. I mean, most cards, yes, you will get rewards back, and I've earned points myself without paying interest. It works great. I think where people fall into the trap is they some people will pay on a credit card and they will pay interest, but they'll say, "But I'm earning points." And you just have to do the math. I mean, for what most credit card companies charge of the average interest rate, it's just not worth it if you're paying interest on any amount, really, because you're not going to make more in points than what you're paying in interest, right? So I really think it just depends. And well, another thing I'd like to talk about is if credit cards are right for you. I think the best way to look at this is just, like I said, looking back and see, how are you doing right now financially, and are you keeping track of what you spend, and are you going to make sure that you're not going to spend more than what you're going to earn that month, because that's how people get trapped. Another thing is, and I know like I've had family guilty of this, is you should never use a credit card for emergency expenses ever. It doesn't matter what's happening. That is how people end up in terrible debt. I think before you ever get a credit card, personally, that you should have your emergency fund built up. You should be following a budget, because if something does arise, then you can cover it without using a credit card, putting it on debt, and then now if you don't pay it all off, now you're paying interest, right? So if you're interested in it, like I said, if you're following a budget and all that, and you want to get your first card, so let's say you get your first card, and I would say whoever you currently bank with, use them. If you're totally new to everything, just pick a bank that you want to use and that looks like you trust. I personally use Chase. I have a Visa card and I also have an Apple card. I love the way it's integrated with iPhones. I think it's perfect and probably one of the best I've seen as far as integration, and their user interface with iPhone is top notch and phenomenal personally. Having said that, the rewards are not that great. But, anyways, the best thing I think you could do is get that card, right? And let's say you're kind of testing the waters. I would only use that for, say, getting gas, right? Let's say not everybody has a car. Let's say, use it on public transport, whatever have you. If it's very minimal, maybe use that on your eating out as long as you don't spend too much eating out, something like that. But use it on one thing only and kind of stick to that and stick to that for a few months, right? And make sure that you have no problems with paying that off every month, and then you can slowly integrate it into other things in your life. You just have to be very careful to not spend more than what you're going to make, right? You just have to keep track of that. I personally use credit cards every single day. I use it for every purchase, right? Not only just because of the rewards, but also they're a little more secure, right? So let's say I'm using a credit card, right, versus my debit card, okay? My debit card is linked directly to my bank account, while the credit card is just a credit card, and that's really the bank's money I'm using, right? Um, the thing is, if something were to happen and somebody got a hold of those numbers of my debit card, potentially, if they look into it, my account could be frozen and now I have no access to that money. Versus a credit card, I either cancel it and get a new one, or even if there is some investigation or something, then I still have access to my bank account, or I could use my other credit card, right? And I know if the account froze, right, I could use my other credit cards, but I have a lot of, really all my bills are set up on auto pay, and not all of them can be run through a credit card. Some of them have to go through a bank account, and so therefore it would kind of mess me up, right? So I just think they're more secure, they're safer, and like I said, as long as you're going to pay them off on time and not carry over a debt and pay for interest, then they are a fantastic way to earn a little something. Like I said, every card is different, but you can at least earn something to at least help offset anything, right? Versus it's kind of like a high yield savings account, right? It's not going to make you rich, but it's better than sitting in a traditional savings account. It's still going to earn you something on your money versus nothing, right? And so I just really think it's a good idea. If you think you can handle a credit card, you should definitely look into that. And lastly, I would just say make smart decisions, make smart choices, make the best decision for yourself, your family, right? And your future. If you know yourself, right, you know yourself better than anyone else. If you think you might, even for a minute, struggle with a credit card and maybe overuse it, overspend, go on like a shopping spree or something, please don't even consider getting a credit card. It's only going to put you in a deep hole, and it is a very hard thing to get out of. So I would just urge a lot of caution around it if you don't have credit cards and you're just now thinking about getting one. Just be very careful. Like I said, take the time, slow down, do your research. Always do your research on everything. Any account you're going to open, anything you're going to get into, always do your research and just, like I said, start out with only buying one thing out of your day-to-day expenses or weekly expenses for the month, and just make sure you're paying it off. That's the most important thing. And I just, you know, want to help people definitely do the best they can with their money. And I think it's a good, secure way to use your money. But the end of the day, some people are credit card people and some people aren't, and that's okay. Just do whatever you think is best and the smartest move for you. All right, everybody have a good one. Thanks. Bye.